Welcome to the Windows Computer and Technology channel, and this comes from a viewer question, and I remember getting that question from time to time. What is the difference between the command prompt, the Windows PowerShell, and of course in Windows 11 by default when you right click on the start button it says terminal. So what's all that about? They seem the same, they look alike, but there are differences with the way that they actually work. So first of all, the command prompt is the most basic of all the line commands system that Windows has. It's been there for a very long time, and it is there to, of course, have you introduce, a few commands, like you can issue commands to fix software, to check DLLs for their integrity. For you can just look at a directory by issuing a standard directory, check dir, and so on. It's a little bit kind of like DOS, but it's not a operating system. It's really just a command line, and it can of course run commands. It can run executables in Windows. Basically, it is a way to, in command, do some of the basic command prompts that you might want to do. It's often referred to when you have changes, you have things, you can move files around. Sometimes you will want to have the administrative command prompt to be able to do certain things. Sometimes you might need to fix Windows for a file in a software. You'll be able to do it through the command prompt, but it is very limited, and it actually is the most basic of all the systems where you can actually issue commands. What happens is that then you have PowerShell. PowerShell does everything the command prompt does. So you can issue the same commands and the PowerShell is going to work, but it adds more power. PowerShell can actually invoke some of the .NET framework and .NET languages. So in the PowerShell, not only can you do the basic command prompt, but what the command prompt cannot do and that PowerShell does is enable you to, for example, you could be able to check out software, to issue commands that would come from the .NET framework in order to track down something, in order to maybe do some debugging. You are able to actually run up to 200 smaller commands or commandlets that are special types of C-class type language commands, and of course you can run all of the routines of the .NET framework with the PowerShell. So it's much more powerful, as you can actually do a lot more in debugging software and checking the status of different software parts, for example. And it is really like the next level. Now we have the terminal, and terminal might seem to be the same, because when you actually invoke the terminal in Windows 11, it brings you either the command prompt or the PowerShell, depending on how it's done. The terminal is an open source project, and what it does, it brings something that was not available in Windows, and it probably has to do with the fact that now Windows runs the famous subsystem for Linux. It is capable of, first of all, going into the different systems, the Linux subsystem and even the Windows system. It can share all of that. It has what's called the Bash or Born Again shell, which is something that was unique to Linux users and that a lot of Windows users were kind of wanting to have. So it's a step forward where a lot more can be done, and you can actually run, once again, multiple instances of what you want. You can actually run multiple instances of the PowerShell, so there's tabs in it. And actually, if you notice, in Windows 11, even if you ask the command prompt or the PowerShell, you're actually in the terminal all the time. It can actually invoke, like you said, different tabs with different automation. So you have your tabs, which are not available in the PowerShell or in the command prompt. You can run tasks in each of these tabs if you want. So not only now are you doing something, you can multitask the commands and the things that you do thanks to the terminal. Also, when you notice here, when you click the down arrow, you have the Azure Cloud Shell. You can go to your Ubuntu and check out the different things there on your Windows subsystem for Linux. It also has the ability to use the GPU, the graphics processing unit of your computer, for faster computational power, things like that. So it's really even more. You can, of course, choose different backgrounds and emojis and all sorts of things. It's a very complete system that does it all, basically. So not only do you run in terminal, you can run the PowerShell and the command prompt, but you also run a more advanced system where you have access to your subsystem for Linux and stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting when you look at it. And of course, you see here you can customize all of it with the colors and the fonts and everything also at the same time. So basically, it's simply like we're going to a more advanced version of everything. And of course, we have the fact that the terminal is also a open source project. It is always a work in progress, if you want. So it will, of course, update and have new features over time. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.